3. Spending in the way of God. The third directive is to spend in the way of God. This means that just as a person spends on himself the blessings bestowed upon him by God, he should also spend them on his fellow brethren after fulfilling his personal and business needs. It is evident from the Quran that two things are required for a person if he is to become a true servant of God. Firstly, his relationship with God should be established on right footings. Secondly, his relationship with other human beings should also be established on right footings. The first thing is achieved through prayer, which is the foremost expression of one's love for God. And the second thing, through spending in the way of God, for this is the foremost expression of one's love for one's fellow human beings. The reward for this spending is also God's love, because whatever one spends, he has saved it in the heavens, and in the words of the Prophet Jesus ﷺ, his heart too remains occupied at this place. Matthew chapter number 6, verses 19 to 21. This spending in the way of God is the right of one's relatives, orphans, and the needy, which must necessarily be fulfilled. Any slackness in fulfilling this right can, in the eyes of God, make a person a criminal who extorts the rights of people. Thus, at another instance, the Quran has clearly stated that if a person starts amassing wealth while remaining indifferent to these rights, then this is hoarding, and its punishment is the fire of hell, from which every believer should seek refuge with the Almighty. Only people who adopt a balanced attitude in their spending and consider the sustenance they have been given by God a blessing and not a result of their own planning are afforded with the urge and will to spend in this manner. Consequently, two further things are stated. Firstly, wealth should not be squandered, for it is a blessing of God, and the right attitude in this regard is that a person should spend it in a balanced and efficient way on his permissible needs, and whatever he saves, he should consider that he has been entrusted with it as a share for its rightful recipients, and with full caution discharge this duty of handing it over to them. The reason for this is that a person who does not adopt a balanced attitude regarding his needs is not able to even find time from his pastimes and pursuits to fulfill such duties regarding others. The Quran says that people who squander their wealth are Satan's brothers, and Satan is very ungrateful to his Lord. He allures people to his ways and entices them to spend on things which can earn the displeasure of God. While explaining the balanced attitude in this matter, the Quran says that a person should neither be miserly nor prodigal, so that when he needs his wealth, he ends up yearning for wealth and is reduced to indigence. On the contrary, he should spend in a balanced way and always save something so that he is able to help others whenever needed. Secondly, it is the wisdom and will of God which governs the financial circumstances of a person. The only responsibility of a person is that he should work hard to create opportunities for his livelihood. People who do not understand this not only do not spend on others, but many a time become so callous as to even kill their children for fear of poverty. The Quranic verses which mention the directive of spending in the way of God at one place specially allude to the evil Arab custom of burying alive infant girls in the time of Jahiliyyah. The psyche behind this was that since a woman is not an earning member of the family, why should one bear the burden of her upbringing? The Quran forbade this heinous practice and said that it is the Almighty who provides for these innocent girls and also for those who indulge in this practice. They should rest assured that the Almighty is ever watching the circumstances His servants are going through. He is not unaware of them. 4. Chastity and modesty. The fourth directive mentioned is that no one should even go near fornication. The reason stated for this is that it is open lewdness and a very dreadful practice. The implication is that no argument is required to prove its awfulness and lewdness. Human nature, unless it is perverted, has always regarded it to be a grave sin and a terrible crime. It is an indubitable reality that the institution of family is as essential a need for a person as air and water are. This institution can sustain on natural feelings and emotions only if the relationship between the spouses is permanent. If this aspect is missing, then a society can only consist of a bunch of animals which are devoid of natural and spiritual feelings and emotions. It cannot be founded on right and healthy footings. It is this very terrible nature of fornication, because of which the Almighty has not merely forbidden it, He has said to not even go near it. This means that one should keep away from things that may lead to it or may ultimately entice a person to it. The etiquette of gender interaction mentioned in the Quran is stated for these very reasons. A summary of this etiquette is that men and women, with regard to their physical and psychological needs, should guard their gazes and properly cover their private parts, and should not do anything that rouses sexual emotions. The reason for this is that when Satan wants to give currency to fornication in a society, he first of all begins from these places. It is evident from the Quran that it was through this very way that he had attacked Adam and Eve. On this very basis, popularizing fornication and creating opportunities which lead to it are regarded a crime by the Almighty. 5. Sanctity of human life. The fifth directive is that no one should kill anyone. This is a mention of the sanctity of human life which it always possessed as per morality and religion. The Quran has informed us that prior to this, the Israelites were also given these directives, and the Almighty had ordained that killing one human being was like killing whole mankind. The Quran has also clarified that the perpetrators of this crime will not only have to face God, they will also have to reckon with the heirs of the slain person, and God has given them full authority in this regard, and no court of justice can show any leniency to the murderer without the consent of his heirs. Its responsibility is that if they insist on qisas, it should help them and should implement with full force whatever they want. 6. Misappropriating the wealth of orphans. The sixth directive is that the wealth of orphans should not be misappropriated. The words of this directive are the same as those of fornication earlier. Do not approach the wealth of orphans except for their welfare and betterment. The implication is that one should only use the wealth of the orphans for their development and protection, and this too should be done till the time when orphans reach maturity and can be entrusted with their wealth. 7. Keeping promises. The seventh directive is that promises should be kept at all costs. The Quran here says that one shall be held accountable for promises. At some other instances in the Quran as well, this directive of keeping promises is mentioned with the same emphasis. At the time of armed jihad also, the most important directive which is stated in the Quran is this keeping of promises. At one instance, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and the Muslims have been directed to end their treaties with the idolaters of Arabia and launch the final onslaught. However, this much has been clearly stated in it that treaties which are time-bound must be honored till the time period expires. At another instance, it has been stated that if a nation with whom Muslims are bound in a pact is oppressing the Muslims, then these Muslims cannot be helped in breach of this pact. 8. Honesty in weighing. The eighth directive is that things should be weighed and measured with honesty. The Almighty says that He has set the earth and the heavens on a scale, and thus it is necessary that the person in this circle should remain just and measure with the right scale and weights. It is evident from this that this is a very important directive, and in its essence is actually a corollary of the scale of justice on which this world has been created. Thus, if anyone deviates from it, it means that his conception of justice and fairness has become defective, and he actually does not believe in a just God. After this, obviously, the economic and social systems of the society are shaken from their bases, and no ingredient of the society remains in its place. Adulteration in things is also a similar case. If a person mixes water in milk, or sand in sugar, or barley in wheat, he commits the same crime, because even if he weighs accurately, he is not giving the buyer in full what he is buying. This is like usurping the rights of others, for which he will have to face grave consequences both in this world and in that to come. Thus the Quran has said, "Give full measure when you measure, and weigh with correct scales. This is better and fairer as far as the consequences are concerned." 9. Following speculations. The ninth directive is that one should not base one's actions on speculations. The Quran has warned us from regarding this to be a trivial directive, because the faculties of sight, hearing and intellect shall one day be held accountable before God. The implications of this directive is that it is not right for a Muslim to make bad estimations about other Muslims, or make allegations against others, or take some action against others without proper knowledge of what the matter is, or spread rumors merely on the basis of speculation, or form a view about God's being and attributes and His directives merely on the basis of conjecture and guesswork and unending analogies.